So how's everybody doing today? We hope you're doing okay. This is Dennis with Home Rehab Pros. We're in a basement where the wall has some horizontal deflection to it. In other words, it's going like this. And we're going to measure that. And we've already had a structural engineer take a look at it. But I wanted to show you what we find so that we know we need to do something to shore that wall up, to make that wall stronger. So I'm going to do this myself. So let's take a look. And you know what, if you have a basement and you have horizontal cracks, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute, and you're wondering whether you need to do some structural support of that wall, stay tuned. Let's watch. So let's take a look at this wall. As you can see, we have some definite compromise there. We have a crack all the way across, and we also have a vertical crack, but you know, vertical cracks happen. I'm not as worried about the vertical crack, and neither is the structural engineer. But you have this crack along the top as well. And so that's why we decided to come in and take a look at the structural integrity of this wall. So let's take a closer look. I have my level, and you can see that it's right at that wall. And you can see that my level's reading plumb. Right, so what is the distance of in the deflection? So as you can see, we have about 1 inch and 3/16. I would call that 1 1/4 inches. To deal with the 16ths can be a little difficult. So that's what we have. We have a deflection in this wall that is 1 3/16 inches out of square, or 1 1/4 inches would be better. So let's take a look at another spot and see if that's true across the wall. So we put it in another spot. In fact, we put it right under the I-beam. And as you can see, we are plumb. Okay, so now look at the gap. Look at the gap. The gap is rather sizable. Let's take a look at our tape measure and let's see what we've got going on here. And again, it's about 1 1/4 inches. So what does that mean for this basement wall? The other basement walls are within tolerance. What is tolerance? Well, most structural engineers will tell you that tolerance is a 7/16 deflection. Now, what does that mean? Most people don't work in 16ths. To me, 8/16 is 1/2 inch, right? So if your measurement, when you get a nice level and you get the plumb on that wall and your deflection is 1/2 inch or less, then really you don't need to worry about it. But when it gets to be more than 1/2 inch, now you want to stabilize that wall. Do you need to tear out this whole block wall? No, not by any means. Okay, but what we will do is get some structural steel posts, and we'll install those structural steel posts tight up against this wall, and then we'll grout those spaces so that there's no light that comes through, and that'll keep the wall from moving. So is it still holding up the house? Yes. Is it going to be in danger of collapsing in on us? Not once we put those steel posts on there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to measure up, and we're going to get those steel posts ordered. The steel posts that we will use here are going to be 5 inches by 2 inches, and the steel is going to be 3/16 of an inch thick. So it's going to be pretty heavy duty. Those are pretty hefty. We'll attach them to the floor joists and the ceiling. Excuse me. We'll attach them to the floor joists at the ceiling, and we'll attach them to the concrete on the floor. We'll level and plumb those, and then we'll support this wall so it won't go anywhere. So just thought we'd give you a little viewpoint on some of the other things that we do. And we're really glad you watched. Hopefully it helped you out. If you have a basement and you have some horizontal cracks, just go ahead and see what that means. You don't need to hire a structural engineer at first. If it's less than 1/2 inch deflection, then you're good. If it's more than 1/2 inch, you might want to get some professional opinion on how to resolve that, or at least how to stabilize it. So, you know what? This is Dennis with Home Rehab Pros. I hope everything's going good for you today. We're glad you watched. If you have any comments about this, if you have a different idea or maybe a different approach, please let us know in the comments below. And again, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, we'd really appreciate it if you did that. And those thumbs up always help us a lot. So until next time, this is Dennis with Home Rehab Pros, and we'll see you in the next video.